Get yourself a saucer of milk and a loose ball of yarn, like a cat, because we're taking a trip back to the 1980s for a look back at Thundercats. No, you didn't dream up a TV show about a bunch of humanoid cats in people leotards who are forced to flee their homeworld of Thundera when it's destroyed. You know what? Let's hang on and back things up a bit. Thundercats was the brainchild of Tobin Ted Wolfe, a dude from Pittsburgh who would die in Hawaii with several patents to his name that included non-tippable toys and combat action figures. Pretty good for a guy from Pittsburgh. The TV series debuted in January of 1985 and was an interesting mix of Japanese animation and American sensibilities. Think Dragon Ball Z mixed with an 80s guitar solo, and you've got the picture. In fact, the show was entirely written, produced, and voice acted in the United States, while its animation was handled in Japan. It ran for 3 years, from 1985 to 1988. Season 1 introduced audiences to Lion-O, leader of the Thundercats, voiced by Larry Kenney, who also, fun fact, is the Taste the Rainbow Skittles guy. He's that guy. Tigra, a warrior with a sweet whip who could turn invisible, voiced by Peter Newman. I don't have a fun fact about him. Panthro, the chief mechanic who was super strong and used nunchucks, voiced by Earl Hyman. Cheetara, who was super fast and kicked everyone's ass with her staff, played by Lynn Lipton. And then there were the twins, Wily Kit and Wily Cat. They were voiced by Newman and Lipton, respectively. They jumped around a lot and had little bomb thingies. Wily Cat's hair sort of looked like Rum Tum Tuggers from Cats, and Wily Kit's hair looked like a turnip that went punk. Rounding out the cast was Snarf, who was part of an actual cat race from Thundera called Snarfs. Snarf was voiced by Bob McFadden, who would frequently speak of himself in the third person.
Snarf, you must be doing something wrong then. Old Snarf's as steady as a mountain.
So the overall plot had the Thundercats escaping their dying world of Thundera, only to land on Third Earth. On the trip, their eldest and most revered leader, Jaga, perished as he volunteered to pilot the ship after it was damaged. Unable to go into cryo sleep, he died of old age. He still showed up throughout this series as an Obi-Wan sort of ghost, always saying wise things.
The sword will only come to life to combat evil.
As such, Lion-O became the leader of the group and inherited the Sword of Omens, which can shoot bolts of lightning and allow him to see across great distances through sight beyond sight.
Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight.
Incredibly important fact: Cheetara appeared topless in the first episode. Despite being in the super conservative Alex P. Keaton 80s, you could see Cheetara's bare boobs in episode 1, except she has no nipples, so I guess that's okay. I don't know. And she's like a cat. The FCC explained it to me. The show's main villain was Mumm-ra, the ever-living, a mummified sorcerer who was already on Third Earth, living in a pyramid and sleeping in a sarcophagus. He wants to destroy the Thundercats because he wants his own reign of evil to continue, and also it was an 80s cartoon, so you really didn't need a lot of motivation.
You mock my power!
If Mumm-ra didn't creep you out as a kid, then you're one of the bravest people on the planet. He may look feeble at first glance, but he can make himself buff just by calling upon the ancient spirits of evil. His faithful dog, Mamut, often does his bidding too. While it is called Third Earth, the show's setting is actually supposed to be our own planet in the distant future after humans have died out. Wow, way to make it morbid, Thundercats. The first half of the first season retained continuity between episodes in order to familiarize audiences with the concepts. The second half became one-off adventures. Like other 80s cartoons such as He-Man, Masters of the Universe, and G.I. Joe, each episode would end with some sort of value or lesson learned by the characters.
I'm Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats, reminding you that kids are not allowed to drink anything with alcohol in it.
And everything would essentially reset for the next episode. But did you know why? Get this. When Ronald Reagan got into office in 1981, he changed FCC regulations which previously restricted advertising influence in children's programming. Thus, almost every cartoon in the 80s was based on a toy line and, let's be honest, was a walking commercial for it. The compromise the FCC made with critics was that every episode of such shows needs to overtly instill a teachable moment in the narrative. Hence why almost every 80s cartoon ended with a lesson.
Thundercats Ho!
1986 saw the release of Thundercats Ho, the TV movie, which introduced a bunch of new Thunderians who would be anointed Thundercats by Lion-O and ended with the apparent defeat of Mumm-ra. Originally planned for a theatrical release, the film was only aired on TV after the box office failure of similar animated movies like GoBots, Battle of the Rock Lords, and My Little Pony, the movie, the very same year. The story for the movie was written by none other than the creator of the Mary Perkins onstage comic strip, Leonard Starr. It expanded the voice cast and brought in Mumm-ra, Lynxo, and Bengali as the new members of the team. Starr was actually the head writer for the show and introduced the idea of a 5-part miniseries for the ensuing seasons that would introduce elements to be kept on for the remainder of the show. Season 2 began in the fall of 1986 and had Mumm-ra Lives Parts 1 through 5, which saw the return of the show's villain and the debut of the Lunatics, 6 evil alien raiders who were previously trapped in the dark side. Unlike the first season, which was 65 episodes, Season 2 only had 25. Season 3's miniseries had the Thundercats turned into children, the miniseries aptly titled Thundercubs. But this season was even more notable for introducing the show's first season-long story arc. Continuity between episodes became important again as Mumm-ra accidentally rebuilt Thundera in order to plunder its treasures and mystical artifacts like the Book of Omens, which contained all the secrets of the Thundercats' history. The events of the third season flitted between Third Earth and New Thundera, while also putting Mumm-ra at the mercy of the ancient spirits of evil, who give him until sundown to kill the Thundercats by the season's end. When he fails, Mumm-ra is banished to the farthest corner of the universe. Season 3 only contained 20 episodes. The fourth and final season arrived in September of 1988. The Thundercats were finally returning to New Thundera, but they just had to piss off the ancient spirits of evil by trying to destroy Mumm-ra's pyramid before they left. The spirits brought back the sorcerer and his dog to build a new pyramid on the restored Thundera. The series ended with the Thundercats preventing the destruction of their newly revived home planet and defeating Mumm-ra and the ancient spirits once and for all. Finally, Thundera was at peace. While the show was on, merchandising was everywhere. Action figures and video games, comic books, lunchboxes, TV trays, backpacks, Halloween costumes, literally everything. While not officially spin-offs, the production company behind the show, Rankin Bass, produced similar programs involving human-animal hybrids. Silverhawks in 1986 and 1987's Tiger Sharks, which was part of a larger show called The Comics Strip. Warner Brothers Animation rebooted the series in 2011 on Cartoon Network. It followed the original storyline and ran for less than a year, but distinguished itself with a darker and more cinematic approach. Talk of a computer animated movie arose in 2007. Video game art director Jerry O'Flaherty was going to direct. He previously worked on games like Gears of War and Hawken. The movie is currently stalled for unknown reasons, but concept art has leaked online. And so ends the saga of the Thundercats, at least for the time being. Let us know which is your favorite Thundercat in the comments below. Personally, I'm a Tiger girl, but I respect your choice, whatever it may be.